One thing that I love about personal injury cases is that it's an area of law where we can really add value to people. We live in this community. We drive to and from work every day in this community. And when one of our community members gets hurt in an accident and the insurance company is jerking them around or the other insurance is jerking them around at a time in their life when they really need support, I love to be able to come in and get these people the justice that they deserve, because that's justice not just for our client, but for our community. With personal injury claims, people often come in and they're confused. They've been contacted by their insurance company, they've been contacted by another insurance company. Sometimes their health insurance company is contacting them, asking them to go after somebody else, and they don't really know where to turn. And so when people come in and look for help from us, the first thing that we're going to do is contact the involved insurance companies, contact the involved parties, and if applicable, contact law enforcement to make sure that they all know, hey, we're representing this client, we are the person to talk to when it comes to protecting that person's interests. From there, we're going to obtain medical records, we're going to obtain evidence and investigate the liability in a case. We are going to obtain insurance policy information on the at-fault parties and other people involved so we know what is there. We're also going to determine what subrogation interests or lien holding interests are there. From there, we collect all of the records and we ultimately make demands on the insurance companies. That can be a bit complicated. Oftentimes there's a number of insurance companies involved. Your own underinsured or uninsured motorist might be involved, and we go out and take the steps necessary to perfect those claims and bring in as much recovery as we can for the client. And at the end of the day, the hope is that while the client is not going to be made whole, so to speak, we can go out and get as much for them as possible to ease the damages that they've incurred. The general rule is 2-year statute of limitations. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule, so it's always worth talking to an attorney, and a consult regarding the statute of limitations should always be free. But really, you should be conservative and expect that it's going to be 2 years, because in almost all cases it is. In the state of Alaska, every driver is entitled to have an underinsured or uninsured motorist policy. So what that means is that if somebody hits you who doesn't have insurance, your own underinsured motorist coverage can kick in after your primary insurance kicks in. However, not everybody has uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. So it's something that you want to talk to your attorney about and to look at your declarations page to make sure that you have. So third-party insurance can also be called at-fault driver insurance, and that's the other person involved in the accident, the person that injured you. So when it comes to obtaining medical records, we find that clients oftentimes come in with what they think is their entire medical record file. But the reality of it is that the medical records we get with releases of information as attorneys are oftentimes far greater than what the doctors are willing to give their own patients. When we meet with a client and sign them up, one of the first things that we do is obtain a release of information so that we can go directly to the providers and get those medical records. And that insulates the client from having to deal with it, and it also allows us to get a more complete picture of those medical records. One thing that surprises a lot of clients that we have is that their health insurance or their disability insurance or other insurances that they have may be able to go after their recovery in a personal injury case. And so an example of that, to simplify it, is that if you have a car accident case and your health insurance through work covers your medical expenses, it can be that that same health insurance puts a lien on whatever you recover from the at-fault driver. This is one of the ways that where we can add the most value for clients is in negotiating those liens. We've had cases where we've been able to get the lien holders to agree to 5% of their total lien amount, or to even waive the lien. This can add hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to the actual amount that a client gets. The question of when to go talk to a personal injury attorney is immediately after you've been harmed. Part of the reason for that is that gives us more time to collect information about your case. It allows us to collect better information and fresher information about your case. And it gives us more time to lean on and to negotiate with the insurance companies that we're ultimately going after. There's a real reticence and concern that many of my clients have because they don't want to go to court, they don't want to sue someone. The sooner you come talk to an attorney, the greater the likelihood that you don't have to sue somebody or that you won't have to go into court. And the reason for that is it gives us lots of time to work up your case and to convince the insurance company that they need to pay you the maximum amount of damages. Insurance companies can be held to pay for pain and suffering, and if you hire an attorney in your case, one of the things that we're going to do is immediately file a claim with the insurance company for pain and suffering. Yes, you can absolutely claim loss of earnings after an accident. That's something that you may have incurred between the accident and the first weeks following your injury, and you may also make claims for future losses of earnings, whether that's for traveling to doctor's appointments, being out because of pain or illness that you have related to the accident. Loss of earnings is a very common measure of damages for personal injury cases. Oftentimes, personal injury attorneys get paid on what's called a contingency fee basis. And the reason for that is because clients cannot afford the attorney's fees that would be incurred to go out and get the wrongdoer and to go out and make sure that they are getting their just damages. And so a contingency fee basis, how that works is the attorney doesn't get anything unless they go out and get something for the client. And typically that contingency fee is 1/3. In that way, it allows people to go out, preserve their interests, hire an attorney, have somebody fight for their rights, and make sure they get what's just without having to pay the money up front. And so it really opens up the ability for a lot of people to hire an attorney that they may not otherwise be able to. In a very general sense, at the office, we want to first determine who is liable and how can we prove liability. After we do that, we communicate with the insurance companies to determine what are all of the coverages available for our client and where can we go and look for insurance money for that client. After that, we have to then look at subrogation interests, and that's a complicated way of saying other insurance companies that want to take from your damages award for themselves, and we negotiate with them so that we can add value to your case. It's very common that people do not realize that their health insurance providers and their health insurers will be looking to their damage recovery in order to satisfy the cost of the medical bills. And that's an area where we can really help. The way you maximize your personal injury settlement is through documentation, negotiation with insurance company adjusters and attorneys, clearly proving liability, and making sure that you're able to document and to illustrate to the insurance companies and those at fault exactly why you're entitled to the recovery that you're entitled to. Hiring an attorney can be incredibly beneficial in that pursuit. We do not take cases unless we think we can add value to that case. And what that means is that after our fee, we're able to get you more damages. And so anytime that we're contemplating taking on a personal injury case, our single goal is, can we add value to this client?